free,
You've been putting in a lot of hours.
free legal services for Wapping Community Church. Free
Alright,
legal
you are now
services
being
for-
recorded.
Okay. Good evening, this is the October 3rd, meeting of the Water Pollution Control Authority in South Windsor. I see that we do have a quorum. Do you have the roll taken care of?
Yeah, we are
Okay.
good to go.
Okay, so moving on, we have the minutes of June 6th. Any comments or,
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting.
I second.
seconded by Mr. Basile? And all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Minutes pass unanimously. Okay, so we have new business, which is 75 Connecticut Avenue, approval to connect.
Oh, no, that's.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Draft agenda. Yeah.
So what the heck, I didn't know that was on the agenda. All right, I'm getting there, all right. Oh, this is a Dart Hill Sewer Extension Opportunity discussion, and I think Mr. Manfred can explain what's going on there.
Yeah, in your agenda packets, I provided a memo just kind of outlining what the situation is. In summary, the engineering department is planning to do full road reconstruction on Dart Hill. And there are 3 properties that are not connected there. It's just because of their location, the sewer has never been extended up to their properties. So essentially, this would be the time to install sewer if the authority would like to do so. Generally speaking, the project would connect 3 homes. This would consist of extending the sewer 700 feet, 3 manholes would be constructed. The impact to the treatment plant is an estimated 570 gallons per day. And our last sewer extension was on Miller Road in 2017. That was a 1,000-foot sewer extension which tied in, I believe it was 9 homes at that time. So that's, so the engineering department approached me to see if there was any interest among the authority to extend sewers to these 3 homes on Dart Hill Road, and they can incorporate it into their project. So now's the time for open discussion on projects such as this.
Is that a cost to these homeowners?
So why don't we go around the table?
Around the table.
Yeah.
Any
What are
questions
we
or comments?
discussing now, please? What are we discussing?
The Dart Hill sewer line extension, it's a discussion, engineering's redoing the road. So they were interested to see if the authority was interested in extending the sewer line.
And we have this map.
It would-
Okay.
Yeah, here's an illustration of what we're talking about. So it's 3 pipe segments, total about 700 feet or so. Cost-wise, yes, there would be a benefit assessment to these homes, and the current formula is we take 80% of the project cost, and we put that onto the homeowners to recoup. So the authority would essentially be paying 20% of the project cost. So that's done through the EDU system. So basically, it's a per bedroom cost, if you will. And each house is a 3-bedroom home in this area. So there'd be 9 bedrooms divided by the cost of the project.
So do we know like percentage how much it'll increase the assessment?
I don't have an exact project estimate at this point. But the typical numbers that I use are between $250 to $300 per linear foot for pipe installation. It's been kind of the rough construction numbers that
And the
we've
manholes,
seen. Yeah, the manholes, yeah, there'll be some variables there. I I think they're maybe 5,000 to install a piece.
Jim, any
Hey,
comments?
I'm new to commission, where do we get the 80-20? Where'd that come from?
The rules and the regulations,
Whose?
WPCA's regulations.
It's
Yes.
an ordinance then of the town. Not state
It's,
law, it's not state law.
no,
Not federal law, because we're taking federal money, no?
no, this would be funded by the authority.
Okay,
And then to recoup those costs, we do that through the benefit assessment. And in the authority's regulations is the formula to recoup the benefit assessment, which is the 80%.
okay. How long have those regulations been around?
That was revised, I think the original regulations were from the 1960s, and then they were revised in 2018 for the Miller Road project, or at the same time as the Miller Road project,
When was that?
2018.
Okay, so this 60s formula?
No, it would be a 2018 formula.
Formula. Who developed that?
On page 47 of our regs, if you
I don't have the regs you got. Who developed that?
That was the authority.
Here, we.
Yeah, yeah, it was approved and, yep.
All right, thanks. I just want to know, 'cause
Okay. Toby?
Thank you, Chairman Wagner. Couple questions. How do these three homes feel about it? Are they saying yay, yippee, or oh my gosh, no, we don't want to do that?
I haven't reached out to them. I wanted to see how the authority felt about extending sewers.
So from what I understand, what you said is that because it was our project, that we will pay 20% of the cost, and the homeowner will be responsible for 80% of it at the time of an assessment.
When they connect, correct.
When they connect.
Yep.
Well, they don't have to connect if they don't want to.
Not- Once the sewers are available,
there's a lien on the property.
once the sewers are available and their septic systems fail, then they're required to connect.
And we don't have a round number of what the cost of that is.
I use between $250 to $300 per linear foot, and this is 700 linear feet. So you're probably around that much.
30.
That could pose a real problem for them. Is it, so I would imagine it's a convenience for them, because we're doing a project anyway.
Mhm.
Right, and it's, the cost is on us for the whole project, but we can recoup some of these costs if we connect these three houses, we can. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Yeah, because of the length of the sewer line, because you can see towards the end of Paper Chase, the last manhole on Dart Hill there, the purple one.
Right.
We do have to make, what's that, 3, 4, almost 500-foot run up to the first house, and then we do an additional 270 feet to essentially is where the 3 laterals would be.
Right.
So it would be relatively costly because the other homes on the cul-de-sac just north of this, they're already connected to the line to the north.
Right, yeah, I got the same thing at my
Yep.
street down, we don't have town water down at the end of Never Road, it stops
Mhm.
right after Woodland or something like that.
Mhm.
And then, so we looked into seeing how we could connect, and it's expensive.
This would be an expensive project to pull up 3 homes.
So, and the purpose for the project to begin with is a necessity? The original project for which we're there for, it's a necessity for us to do.
Yeah, for the road construction, yeah. Yeah, that's a entirely separate project that's gonna happen anyways. Because it's full depth, it's called full depth reconstruction, so they're gonna be tearing up everything. So now would be the time we could just put the sewer line in,
Well, shouldn't that be saving us a little bit of money, so we don't have to?
we would save
go-
on the paving portion of it.
We don't have to go to retail rate, we can go to wholesale rate. Right, right?
We'd be saving on, a lot of the pavement, a lot of that extra work.
Tony, if I can ask though, and you have a good point with that, so is this typical when they're tearing up a road to this degree to put in these manholes? Is there, orchestration that happens, or is it more of a train wreck where they end up paving over things and you have to undo things because it didn't quite work out well with the contractor because they're not your contractor?
So what we've been doing is, we've been allowing, especially on state roads, the state just paves over manholes now.
Yes, yeah,
Oh.
yes, I've heard of that. Quite
Yeah.
often.
Nice.
So,
There's a lot
so
of.
fortunately, a few years ago, they've started to
Reimburse us.
reimburse us the full cost. And what we've been doing is cutting out the manholes with,
Right.
what they call a cookie cutter.
Mhm.
And it cuts around the manhole, and then we can just raise the whole structure. And we've had a lot of good success with that, and it's kind of what I prefer.
I know the drainage in front of Philip R. Smith, because I'm kind of like in this, I'm like
Mhm.
over there with this. But Philip R. Smith, their catch basins were too high, and they weren't
Okay.
draining initially. That was way back, so they had to it was like a big issue with that
Yeah,
on Avery Street. So I guess that's one of my concerns, and I get what you're saying. You know, you're already there. You might as well just. It's like you know when you have something done, like you know you have your teeth done or something. It's oh while you're there, might as well just fill another one. But what is the project? What do you think the cost savings would be? I mean,
it's hard to tell. What I can tell you is that it's gonna be the cost of the pavement. We'll probably save on mobilization a little bit, because the idea would be to have the contractor that's doing the road either do it themselves or sub that out to do the sewer work as well. So there'd be a bit of a cost savings on the mobilization, the paving, maybe even some of the material, because they're gonna be bringing material in anyways. This is a relatively small sewer project, but if you incorporate it into the full project, it becomes a little more efficient cost-wise.
So, are you all set, Toby?
I think so, although, is there a timeline? Like,
They're looking to do this in roughly the spring of 2024.
So we'd have time for you to bring back
We have a little bit of
numbers and stuff.
time, yeah, and we would have to go through a public hearing, and there'd be a process to go about this. There'd be a public hearing, we'd have to post the benefit assessments. So, yeah, but there are steps we do have to take that we're required to.
I surrender my time.
Joe?
I think if the people want it, that's one thing. And 80-20, that's financially, that's not bad. I see it's gonna be gravity feed, right?
Mhm.
Which is good, so no pumping station. I know, Vicky, you were saying on some of the roads when the town did them, you have to have a crown on, that's why a lot of times the storm drains in, but the road's not crowned. That's, if you look at like Troy Road, which was built in the early 1900s, it's been crowned, they didn't even have storm, so they would right off. But if the people want it, I think 80-20 that's fair. So that's what I look at.
Yeah,
David?
So if I'm doing the math right, it's about approximately 245,000, the full cost of the
That would
project,
be-
and then ultimately we'd
it's a
be.
very, very rough estimate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we'd be around 49,000, 50,000 ultimately, and we would pay that up front, I assume, when you say that
We-
80% we would get back.
Yeah, so with Miller Road, we just took money out of the reserves, we paid for that, for the project. And then as people have been connecting, the benefit assessment ultimately makes its way back to the reserves.
Okay.
But it's over time though.
Right,
because
right,
we might have one or two houses a year or every couple years connect,
correct.
so.
Joe?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it seems like an awful lot of money, because not only do they have to pay the assessment, but I'm assuming like their septic tanks in the backyard, so they gotta rip up their yard to connect to the lateral that the town puts in, so. Just based on cost alone, I wouldn't support it, but like Joe said, if there's a demand where those homeowners are like, yeah, we would love that, then that's kind of a different story.
Yeah, cause if you said 270, they're gonna pick up most of that, split 3 ways, so. We're here to serve the residents.
Right.
calculation too, and I came up with 50,000, I think,
Yeah.
which is a lot to have against your house, okay? Is it possible to, I mean, we take this money out of our reserve, it's really not there for what the reserves are there for, which is to deal with emergencies and things that crop up. Is it possible to, make the collection either upon connection or upon sale of the house, so that when a house changes hands, we clear that lien, or whatever you wanna call it?
That was, yeah, the original benefit assessment was as soon as the construction was done,
They'll come with title search.
then we would bill the properties.
Mhm.
We'd make that calculate, it was a separate, it was a different
It's gonna
calculation.
come with the title search anyway.
Yeah, so, yeah, so we can make it either, it was revised to upon connection versus once the project was completed, the benefit assessments were sent out to the properties.
Mr. King? Deputy,
I came in late, so
Right.
I'm good.
so we're talking about,
Oh, no, I read up on it, so if the residents say they want it, but I agree with if you can pass the cost on to whoever the next homeowner is. Nobody wants to have a problem when the problem comes. Nobody wants to pay for insurance until you get in a car accident. And then it's like, ugh, I probably should have paid for that insurance. I don't know about y'all, but there's been a lot of flooding right now. And I've seen couches go down the street in Hartford. I haven't heard anybody in South Windsor say, my couch was floating down the street. We've had some flood problems,
Well,
yeah,
we got some.
but
so
so,
we gotta
no,
be careful we don't confuse sanitary sewers with storm sewers.
not fair enough,
Yeah.
but still, it's a cost
Yeah,
to a homeowner. And that's the point, so.
it does increase the value of their house, I think, to have a sewer connection.
So the
Paula?
calculation you said like 50,000, is it per
Well, I think
household?
it was $250 per linear foot times 750 feet.
Yeah, it was, 700 feet. We'll
Okay,
just
call
use
it
round numbers.
700. So that gives you a $175,000 project. Divided by 3, you get 58,000 times 80%. So the assessment, well, it comes out to 47,000, so something like that. And of course, we don't know what it really is until we get an estimate.
The bids go out.
So I mean, the reason this is a good time is that they're already digging up the road. When they finally do have to have sewer there, however many years in the future, they'd have to dig down through the road, put a patch on. So it's a little bit beneficial to take care of all the utilities when you're doing a full road reconstruction, like they did on Beelzebub. I think they were working utilities for, it seemed like a year before they came around and started the actual base and paving. So I guess I'd just like to hear how many of us, what do we feel our next move is? Should we?
To contact the homeowners,
Should
the
we?
impacted properties, get a feel for what they're thinking.
I agree with that, and get some actual, I mean, right now our numbers are very general. Get specific numbers, but primarily is are we thinking we'll tell the owners they have to do this? And is that our position? I know
They don't have-
ultimately, long-term though, this authority ideally would like to have, would like to have everyone connected, right? Ideally. So if that's the case, at the same time you come to my house, I'm not connected, you have no right to force me, do you?
No,
We don't force you to connect, but we do force you to pay for the
they put the lien on.
strip of sewer in the street, you
Even
know.
though I would be really.
Yeah, except for farmers. They're waived.
We should do that down Main Street then.
It's already there.
So we're being recorded, I shouldn't have said that.
That's all right. Humor goes a long way. So I think the right way to get the homeowners' input is to schedule a public hearing and that would be further down the road when we, so I think, are we interested in going to that point?
Well, it's just 3 homeowners, couldn't we just send them a letter?
Yeah.
We- The problem is they're gonna come in, well, I don't know.
I think sending them a letter and having a meeting and hearing them, because there are only 3.
Right.
Because sometimes people don't know when hearings are either, and then that could be
True.
a train wreck.
And no one
And if
shows
all-
up.
No, yeah, exactly.
And if all 3 say no, then I think it's a,
Makes it
let's
easy.
move on and
Right.
Yeah.
forget
As
it.
long as they recognize what happens if their systems
You
fail.
know,
If we have to do a public hearing anyway, then they can get their consortium of people and they can flood us or not bother to show up at all.
A public hearing, you need to have a lot more information than sort of a general discussion.
Yeah.
You know, you really gotta have a plan to go to the public hearing, so,
I think the letter is a good idea, Joe, that's the way to
Keep it
go.
simple.
maybe send a letter, invite them to
3 say no,
participate in the
makes our job
discussion,
easier.
tell them we don't know the exact cost. And we just want another level of interest, you know, how are they feeling about their septic systems and that kind of thing.
And resale value too.
And then we'd, ultimately still have to have a public hearing.
Right.
Okay? Any other comments? Anybody back there wanna comment? Okay.
It's terrific if they like it.
This kind of construction projects, do they normally allocate any fund at all for sewer related?
No, all the funding for sewers comes from the authority. It's typically not from the town side.
Even if they have to remove it?
No, yeah, it's typically not from the town side. But this would be a kind of a cost sharing because they're gonna be paving the road anyways.
Do you have this kind of money in the budget?
The town or the authority?
Well, the
town.
authority, us, like, from.
We have, we have reserves, certainly enough to cover this, but they are underfunded at this point. We're still not, haven't met the authority's goal level.
I hear more people complaining about that bill right now.
Mhm.
I took a
Same.
walk after work and I was getting smacked with by people as I'm walking by. So, I think we're gonna be kinda,
Anything else? So. Your marching orders, I guess.
That's all I have. We can get some letters out and just gauge their interest and.
All right, so the next item on our agenda is sewer service area revision discussion. I think, Mr. O'Malley is here for that, maybe with other people.
Thank you.
You got the
Oh,
Powerball
these guys.
numbers in there?
That's off the record.
Just for I guess to set the stage here, Mr. Newberry owns some property that is in a sewer avoidance area in the center of town, right behind Town Hall here. The entire property is surrounded by sewers, but this particular piece of land is in a sewer avoidance area. So he contacted me asking about the process to change it. The way we go about it is the authority needs to make that change, and then we send that change over to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and then also to DEP to update our sewer avoidance maps and land conservation areas and sewerable areas. So with that,
Well, the two of you would just, for the record, identify yourself.
Hi, I'm Jim Newberry. I live at 15 Peterson Way.
And that's named after his grandfather, Ted Peterson. And I'm Peter DeMalley, Design Professionals, 21 Jeffrey Drive,
Okay.
representing my next door neighbor, Jim Newberry, and friend. So let me just show you what Jim owns right here in the center of town. So here's the town hall, just the edge of it. Here's the town library, Wapping Community Church, Five Corners right here. Here's Oakland Road, Route 30, Peterson Way where we live, which is a dead end at the end now. They closed it off years ago when it became the Four Corners, but nobody calls it Four Corners, still call it Five Corners. So here's Jim and Judy, his wife Judy. They live and they raise their kids right here at 15 Peterson Way. First house on the left when you're coming in from Route 74, back entrance to the town hall. And then, so they own 5 houses, 15 Peterson Way, that's connected to the sewer. Sewer right here in Peterson Way. And then they also own 50 Darlene Drive, that's the last house on the right, the end of Darlene Drive, in the Capuchinas neighborhood they built years ago. He owns that house. He also owns 2 houses at 90 and 100 Oakland Road, which is right along Oakland Road. Those are also, all 4 of these so far are connected to the sewer. And the 5th one he owns is right here at 80 Oakland Road, and that is also connected to sewer. So all 5 houses are connected to sewer. As Mr. Manfrey indicated, we're surrounded by sewers, but the property, let me just define the property. So here's where his house is, it's 13 acres here. And then there's just 0.76 acres for the house lot at the end of Darlene Drive contiguous. And then this big piece here, these are in the sewer service areas by the first 2. Then this big piece in the middle, which is 21.5 acres, known as 90 and 100 Oakland Road, which wraps around the cemetery. Everything off to the side of the cemetery, the woods there, he and Judy own that. And then there's a small house lot at 0.64 acre house lot at 80 Oakland Road, and that is also in the sewer service area. So we had sewer service area, sewer service area, sewer service area, but right in the middle, we have surrounded by sewers, and the houses on the site are connected to sewer, is in a non-sewer service area. So what Jim and Judy are requesting, and they also have an entity, what do we call it? 90 Oakland Road Associates LLC, which owns 2 of the properties and 3 of the houses. So they would like to add that to the sewer service area. They tie right into the sewer in Oakland Road. And just like their 3 houses on Oakland Road, and just like Darlene Drive is in their house on Peterson Way.
So, let me ask you a simple question, why?
Why do they want to connect?
Why do they wanna add that land to the sewer service?
There you go.
Yeah, go ahead, it's a possible
Yeah.
future development.
Yep, possible future development, most likely 55 and older development.
And without it being in the sewer service area, what happens?
What,
So this area, if you develop anything back here, is in the sewer area.
Mm.
So if I did something, I haven't decided yet, this area would be sewered. And this portion of the development, which has some wetlands, which we couldn't build in,
right.
is not serviced, and we have to put in a septic system, an engineered septic system.
Does that affect the density?
I don't know.
That's a future decision with discussion with the Planning and Zoning Commission about what kind of density, how many units and all that type of thing.
I mean, is there a different density for sewered and non-sewered areas? I haven't looked at the zoning regulations and
We, total number of units probably would not change, whether it's sewered or not, because the type of development he wants to do, as of right now, 55 and older.
I think if you have enough room to build an engineered sewer septic system, that would determine about the numbers that you would build there.
But it might affect like the footprint of homes and stuff, because you have to accommodate the sewer and stuff, so greater variety of potential homes for future homeowners there. If we can, walking distance for the center of town, if we can do this development.
So that would raise the property value considerably if it had connectivity.
so let's go around and start with Joe.
Yes.
You have any questions or comments?
So has this come up before, and is there any, we approved this type of thing in the past, or?
This is the first time I've been through this process. And I've been here almost 7 years.
Obviously, somebody did approve these sewer areas a long, long time ago, right?
Yeah, I believe the last time was just before I came in. I think it was around 2015, 2016 timeframe. We had updated the sewer maps that we have.
So any idea why this was excluded in the past? Is it because of the wetlands?
I know there
or-
was a DEEP official who's no longer working there, who was promoting creating non-sewer service areas all over the state, even when there's a sewer line right in the front. So Why this one ends up, I'm not quite sure, but, you know, he owns 36 contiguous acres and 21 and a half acres right in the middle of it are not able to be sewered, even though all 5 of his properties on, there are 4 properties there and all 5 of the houses on it are connected to sewer, so. We would, so Jim and Judy are respectfully requesting that that can be added in. And, you know, if you were to do a development there, then all of a sudden, you know, if you do the homes on septic, you know, long-term issues associated with that, what if they fail? If you put in, you're gonna be sewering this anyways, you might have a sewer line go through there, and you can't connect to it, but you have a septic system next to it. A series of septic systems is what it would be. We've already done soils testing there. We can get a septic system to work. But why would we do that when the town's invested in the sewer system right here? And half the property would be unsewered. The line would go through the property, right by all these septic systems you have to create. And that doesn't sound too smart to me, but we'd rather avoid that. If you're going to build the sewer line, why not be able to utilize that? And also, working with the town, it enhances potential for what you can do with the property. So.
David?
No, I don't really have any questions.
I get two. I got a couple questions. First, where would the right of way come from? Would you-
The access?
Right, be 80 or 74?
No, most likely not. Most likely from Oakland Road.
Oakland Road.
We could come in from, right, we could come in, he has frontage on, basically on Ellington Road, 74, his frontage on Peterson Way, his frontage on Darling Drive, and he has 2 properties fronting on Oakland Road. The idea was to have it come in from Oakland Road.
Right, and then, planning and zoning, do they require sewers on all new houses now if the line's within a certain amount, a certain area?
I don't actually know the answer to that. I've never seen someone come in and not put a sewer in that was in a sewer area, so
It's gotta be perhaps in a fine print somewhere.
maybe, yeah.
And then, Tony, can we, 55 units would be able to handle capacity? That's my big question.
Yeah, we'd have to look at that, you know, at that time.
It's 55
55 and older, we don't know
Okay.
the number of units yet.
Okay, all right, sorry.
That's age, not number
Right.
of units.
Yeah,
I
this
passed
area,
that 3 decades ago. I got no more questions. Thanks.
You too.
What'd you say, you too?
I should have pointed out earlier, we,
outside.
in your agendas, we do have, Megan put together the sewer maps with the current, sewer avoidance area versus the proposed. And then on the flip side of what she has on the board here is the 2014 PLCD. And what this is showing that it's a lower focus for land conservation, for this particular piece of property. So I should have pointed that out earlier.
And so what happens on this property, by the way, for the future, is totally under the purview of the Inland Wetlands Agency and the Planning and Zoning Commission in the future, what can happen with a property. We're not addressing that now, although the initial intent is to do a 55 and older development. But it's up to Planning and Zoning Commission, Wetlands, and get those approvals before we even return to to the WPCA for sewer approval, if we get those approvals, if and when.
Quick question, how much is this gonna
So-
cost the town? Oh, I'm sorry.
Let's go to Toby.
Well, that's a great question, but I'll let you say it.
That's okay, you can,
Well,
you can do it.
I have, already tonight with big ideas, big plans, and not a whole lot of information. Personally, it's not the purview of this group or me on this group to be concerned about, but I'm concerned about development in that part of town, just right out the gate. And I'm concerned about the cost factor and the construction, what would that entail, as Vicky was alluding to.
Well, Mr. Newberry would have to build all the sewer system. And then he'd have to pay assessments for every unit to the WPCA. So the cost to the town, and then there'd be ongoing fees, was it quarterly fees for sewer service?
It's annual.
Well, the annual,
Semi-annual.
well, my pays the bills, I don't see it, but, okay, so, so you have those annual payments as well from everybody, but, the total cost of the construction, of the whole development, including infrastructure, including sewer and streets is on Jim.
Okay.
I don't think we assess, if he builds a sewer, I don't think there's an assessment, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Oh,
The idea is to pay for building the sewer. If he's paying for building the sewer, then we don't.
that sounds wonderful.
Connection will get you though.
Well,
Actually, this is gonna be a private property, so I think assessments would apply to this property,
oh, really?
because the town's not taking over the roadway.
Yeah, it'd be a private
Still
road.
It would be a private road.
Yeah. So the project would be,
So it would be assessed,
There
so
would
you
be,
get the
yeah.
benefit of the assessment, plus the connection fees, plus the annual, user fees.
So you mentioned planning and zoning and the wetland couple of times.
Yeah.
Why you are starting with sewer? Instead of coming, it seems like out of state.
Because that affects our design,
So
and
let
what we
me,
do.
let me say that I think what's happening here is putting it in the sewer area, you can do before you go to inland wetlands and planning and zoning. Getting the actual approval for the sewer plan and the connection, they come back to us for that.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to come back to you for that until after wetlands and planning and zoning have approved it already.
So he would have a
I don't know if
real,
it's in law, but that's the way it is in the town, always is, isn't it?
you'd have either a
Probably will always
subdivision
will.
plan or a site plan for, whatever he's trying to build there. Then they come back after planning and zoning, because every time we approve something in planning and zoning, we put a condition on there that they have to come back to Water Pollution Control Authority. So this is just to designate, it's kind of like a zone change, only it's a sewer area change, and that's separate from the actual plan.
So I think then, like Toby was saying earlier, we would like more people to hook up, so I think it sounds like a good idea, yeah.
Vicky?
So it's basically no cost to the town. Nothing is, but one thing that caught my ear a little bit, because I work with the state DEP a lot. So you said the commissioner, which was probably the one I'm thinking of, deemed that area as a area of conservation
No,
or something? Is that what you're saying?
An official at DEP was not the commissioner, but an official at DEP promoted the idea of having some areas in each community that had sewers that would be designated non-sewer service areas. Promoted that. And that even included a lot of areas in this town which had sewer lines going right in front of it. I even had one on Pierce Road where a client could not get a septic system to work, and the sewer was right there, and that was approved to add it to the sewer service area. So we have that in this town, multiple parcels in this town. They're largely undeveloped, in the non-sewer service area. And it's shown on the Plan of Conservation Development maps that the Planning and Zoning Commission adopts. And it's also, it's a function of WPCA and the Planning and Zoning Commission. What happens to those? Is it in the sewer service area or not? And a DEP official, in those days it was DEP official promoted that with the towns. And I'm not sure if there are carrot and sticks or whatever associated with that, but the towns did adopt policies and they decide which parcels would and would not be in the sewer service area, at least at that time.
And so South Windsor has deemed that as not being in a service area.
South Windsor's deemed that.
So that would have to change that whole.
correct, yeah.
Yeah, so
The change is made, then we would send that to Planning and Zoning Commission and also DEP. Just let them know.
So the process, are you done?
Yes.
Okay. The process for changing the sewer area involves what steps? I mean, we don't even have an actual survey yet. I mean, obviously, this is just a discussion. So when we get down to brass tacks and gonna do it, what do we have to actually do?
I think, well, I'd recommend doing a public hearing just to get the public's input on this as well. But I don't think that is required. Basically, it's just an approval by the authority to say, yes, we're gonna make that change from sewer avoidance to a sewerable area. And then we submit those documents to planning and zoning and also the DEP.
So when we submit, they don't have any action to take, we're just telling them that we took the action.
Correct.
Okay, so,
I wonder why they chose that parcel to be one of the areas.
There's a lot of, a lot of these sewer avoidance areas are in agricultural lands. I think the intent was to preserve the character of the town. But yeah, why this particular piece, I don't have that answer.
so I guess personally, it sounds very logical to me to go ahead and make that change, do whatever we have to do to make the change. I don't know how the others feel after what you've heard, so. Toby, you had another question?
Well, I'd like to see, not knowing things, I'd like to see some pros and cons, so some benefits and some negatives, you know, like what would impact on the community, what would impact on the town.
Movie schools. Movie schools.
Right over 55 is good,
Well, again, we're not
right?
actually dealing with, I mean, he could find that there's no market for 55 and over, and he could decide to put in, tempo 3 there or something, okay, so, at this point, we're not gonna have, we don't have a site plan, we're not gonna have a site plan.
No, what my question was is, with a piece of property, someone assessed that as not doing something or developing it. What are the pros and cons of doing it and not doing it? I don't know, I don't have that experience, I don't have background. But I'd like someone with that background to say, this is the impact on the town, the environment, or whatever. It's a wonderful business idea, it makes great sense. It seems logical, but I think we need to go a step further and investigate the pros and cons of it. You know, what are the pluses and minuses?
Well, let's go around and see what people think of it, Joe?
I mean, I kind of feel like it was done for a reason, so I'm kind of compelled to think maybe, we honor that, but to Toby's point, I think we gotta weigh all the pros and cons. But yeah, at first glance, kind of like, no, it was done for a reason and we should honor that.
It seems to make more sense to put it in the sewer service area. Obviously, I've got an interest in this. But if it's not in the sewer service area, we could do sewers, septic system. And then you'd have a septic system in there, in the middle of, surrounded by sewers. I mean, is that what the town wants, to encourage the use of septic systems?
Well, the pro-con, I guess, is, the con is this gets developed, however, and it has septic in it. The pro is,
Do you mind if I pipe in when you're?
oh, sure.
So I did do some research ahead of time, about like the health code information. So in regards to the Connecticut Health Code, the only information that they had brought out is about the subsurface sewage systems. There's nothing necessarily in regards to the actual sewer service area. So it's only about the disposal of the sewage itself. And then the WPCA has full authority, technically. So this map is from 2014, which is about 10 years old in this area. Even though that circle highlights a little bit of like the higher focus conservation areas, that's not actually the exact property. The property is a little bit more to the right. I'll just show you. It's technically like right here. So this is a lower conservation area, if that makes sense for any of you.
But that's a development over there, right?
What do you mean that's a development?
That's a development off of Felt Road, to the right of my property.
So that's technically the 90 and 100 Oakland.
Oh.
That's the 90 and 100 Oakland. It's just the general area, because we don't have the specific parcels on
Well,
this map.
again, the Inland Wetlands Conservation Commission would deal with the conservation, if there's a conservation easement of some sort, they would have to deal with that.
And there isn't. By the way, this map here, which is in your plan of conservation development, shows it's called sanitary sewer service plan. That one expressly shows you which parcels are not in the sewer service area and which are. And it reflects here, this parcel here, the 21.5 acre parcel that is excluded from sewer service area. So that's,
Dave, what do you think?
my first feeling is the sewer lines are there. You know, why not hook up to them? And I just don't see it as a negative for the town, because we're gonna get, you know, the money for it, so. I don't have a problem with it, seeing that they're already there. You know, and it's in a lower focused area, I personally don't have a problem with doing it.
Yeah, I have no problem with doing, I think you brought up a good idea. If you go way back, which I'm an oldie, I think Peter might be here, I've been here like almost 65 years. That used to be all potato land, depending when they did plan of conservation. It was all, right, Kupchunas is all potatoes. In fact, even if you go on Nevers Road, that was potatoes, Dart Hill Road, that was potatoes. Rice Street side of town was tobacco.
There was potatoes and tobacco.
Right.
Because there's a tobacco shed back there that has fallen down.
I do miss the strawberry farm that got the apartments put on, but if they did it back then, they perhaps, actually when we first moved in, and we all have septic, that was back in 1958, so. But I agree with, I think it's a win-win for the town, so we just made the decision. Everything else gotta go through wetlands and zoning, so we'll do our due diligence, and if everyone else thinks it's okay, but that's my opinion.
Good opinion.
Toby?
I just fall back on, and I won't belabor this, but, it's not like it's either septic or this. It could be, if we were against this per se, that could be a deterrent to having development there, which somebody else might do already. So that's, my thought process is just so much building and so much going on in town. Yet another thing. So I'd say, because right now, I'm just waiting for more information. I'm gonna hold off right now.
And what information do you need?
I'm not sure,
Okay,
but I don't think this is, I don't think we have to, do we need to decide this today? I thought this is a
no,
discussion.
we're not gonna decide today, but
Okay, so
they're gonna
my,
come to us.
so I'm gonna hold off right now. I'm gonna hold out right now.
I have no problem.
Paul?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Toby on this a bit. It's not our commission to tell them that we're not inland wetlands, we're not zoning people, we're sewer people. And I see how the lines are there, I see how there's opportunity, the whole thing. I'm more on the, I'd be very interested to see if the application to remove the non-sewer area, that gets removed. I mean, there's a lot of steps to this before it could even get to becoming a sewer area. You have to go through the DEP, you have to go to the inland there's a lot of stuff. You got wetlands right down the middle of it. So I guess I would like more information. I'd be very curious to see how this progresses. If all the people are giving them the green flag, I really think that we should also have that as an opportunity to connect, but there's so many more steps involved in this before it even gets to us. They just gotta get approved in general with all the
That's for the
hurdles.
project approval.
Yeah, for
But in order to
everything.
get to that point, the authority needs to change this property.
Right, and you
to
need
make
to do
it
an application, so why
suitable.
did the state do that? How easy is the state going to be
Well,
willing
we
to remove
provide
that?
that to the state.
Right,
If the authority makes the decision to change it, then we just update our maps and then
and then send it over,
inform
and they approve that?
DEP.
Interesting.
Do they even have to approve it? I mean, do they get to approve it? Or
I-
would-
No.
Yeah, it's up to the authority in the town to,
Oh, okay, so it's not like
To
a
figure
certain
it-
percentage?
yeah,
of
no,
blah,
it's,
blah, okay.
yeah,
The state can't override it, that's what
You
you're
can't
saying.
override the town.
right, it's up
gotcha.
to the municipality
That's
or the
what you're
authority.
saying. They shouldn't.
Yep.
So I think
West Hartford, no.
maybe the thing to do is to have you come in with a more formal proposal. And then,
Is it an application or just a written request
Probably just be a written request. We don't have an application for
for that, yeah?
something like this.
Yet. You don't have an application yet.
yeah, the applications to inland wetlands, have a lot of more detail about the actual project. Then it goes to planning and zoning, inland wetlands tends to move things around a lot. So they don't take it to planning and zoning until inland wetlands is happy. And planning and zoning would approve the site plan with the condition that we approve the sewer connection, which we tend to do pretty nominally. We don't spend a lot of energy on that. All of that detail is gonna come, I think, first to inland wetlands, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, actually, if we're successful in changing the sewer service area with this authority, then, and Tony, I guess, passes it on to the DEP. Then, after that, the first step would be to work with the Planning and Zoning Commission on the type of use there, and the regulations, so that, if Jim can implement his vision,
Okay,
for it, which right now is 55 and older development.
okay.
I do have one question, just to throw this out there. So let's say we say no and you do build the housing and you get the sewer and you put an application for sewers, septic, but yet you're in the middle of a wetland. Do they approve septic when
Well,
you're in the middle of a wetland?
Excuse me, excuse me for interrupting.
Yeah.
It's not in the middle of the wetlands.
Well, the plan would have to go around
Oh, pond,
a pond, right?
It's really only a crossing of one.
There's not a pond there.
Mhm.
It is a wet area. All this area is dry, and a lot of this area, both sides of this are dry, this is all dry here. So there is a wet area here, there's no pond there.
Peter, why don't you explain what wetland is? I think it's water.
Yeah, there are two types of wetlands on the property.
These
There's
guys
a,
don't know.
there's a wetland area which is saturated soil, and you have the marsh type environment, that type of thing, or wooded swamp. And then the other thing is there's a brook that comes down through here. A similar brook to the one behind the town hall. There's another brook, and it can completely dry up. Often in the summer and dry periods, it'll completely dry up. So it doesn't support fin fish or anything like that, trout or anything. So there's a small brook that comes down through here. There's a wetlands associated with that. In fact, some of the drainage from streets to the east of it even drains down into this property, into the wetland area. But the development itself will only cross a wetland to get into the property, the bulk of the property. It will not, the idea is not to disturb the wetlands. We have tried to avoid the wetlands as best we can, and that's what we do, that's what we design it. So like go over, the wetlands and the brook, which often, as I said, dries up, and get to the bulk of the area for development. There's area for development on Oakland Road. There's also area in the back. The biggest part is in the back.
So again, we don't have to be concerned about wetlands, because in the wetlands.
No, that's right, I'm just
would,
curious.
make sure ideally, they don't mess with the wetlands. They do have to cross, anytime you build a road, you have to cross wetlands somewhere. But then if they need to do something to the wetlands, then there's a mitigation plan required, and they probably find that too expensive, so they probably just leave it alone.
Well, in preliminary look at this property, we have a lot of basic information on it. And the idea would be avoid the wetlands completely, other than a brook crossing. So it's, and that'd have to be designed to either have no impact on the brook, or you put it through the brook through a culvert, like through the back entrance of the town hall.
So these are specific properties, the entirety of which you would want to turn into sewered areas, is that the idea?
It's only this one that we're concerned about right now, because this is already in sewer service, and that's in sewer service. This 21.5 acre parcel in the middle, the biggest parcel.
The boundary of the service area, the sewer service area, is the boundary of the property.
Actually, your sewer service areas are here. So that's in sewer service area 2, I guess you call it, from your mapping.
Okay, so in that case, we'll, come to us with a map that shows what we're changing, okay?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, and a request, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll do a written request, since there's no formal application. We'll do a written request for the WPCA to modify the sewer service area map to include that one parcel, and we'll show the overall area around it and stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
where the sewers are and stuff like that.
And then we'll have, again, another discussion. Does anyone think we need a public hearing on this? I don't think,
So probably already a step in that, but can we get any document saying why it was marked as no sewer?
I can look, I will not make any promises that I'll find anything, but, yeah, we can look back and try to find something on it.
It was done quite a while ago, wasn't it? Do you ever know how many years ago it was done?
The commission was put together in, I think, the earlier mid-sixties.
Early sixties.
When the, yeah, and, you know, if this was all potato fields and strawberry fields,
Tobacco too.
tobacco, it's probably a good reason why they were trying to preserve the character of the town at that time, and then,
Most of the people, you people weren't here then, it was just a different group of people.
yeah,
Nineteen 55, in the sixties, it was a small town.
right. So as things developed and people were looking to
was
develop
nice.
around the center of town, the avoidance areas had changed at that time, and
It was nice.
it's just kind of left behind.
In some ways, this is kind of a first
55, it
step
would be-
toward,
You haven't brought me anything.
it's a kind of a first step toward a more specific project. Do we have a feeling for the kind of opposition that may be growing in some of these areas? I mean, that's, my decision to make a public hearing would be the level of public interest in having a public hearing versus just voting. I mean, have you heard, Tony, or, you know?
I haven't heard
Mhm.
anything from any neighbors about
Okay.
involvement.
I mean, it would, if he did a development, it would go to a public hearing anyways, right?
There's several
Like-
public hearings.
There'd be
along
multiple
And
public
at that, and
hearings.
at that point, if people have an issue,
In terms of what uses are allowed first, and then associated with the actual engineered design plan,
Right.
architectural plans,
Right.
and that is go to separate hearings. And the Wetlands Commission would go to public hearing because we're crossing a brook.
Right.
So that would be, so you'd have public hearing for wetland, public hearing for planning and zoning, for whatever land use changes we wanna do, they have to agree to that. And then would go to Wetlands Commission for a public hearing for the crossing of the brook, because we're not disturbing any of the other wetlands. And then it would be, Planning and Zoning Commission hearing, most likely, I would guarantee you it would be, for whatever use that they agree to allow us to come forth with, when they change their regulations to allow it, if they do.
Right.
There's many steps ahead.
So maybe there's no need for us to do a public hearing.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
No, basically, you're right on that, Steve, we're just changing the designation of the land. In a perfect world, what we do, like you said, after it goes through wetlands and zoning, then it comes back to us, we're just changing the designation. And that's, and like, we didn't even have an application form for that, which you guys are smart to have a letter, and we're charting new ground here, so that's basically what our purview is right now.
Any other comments? All right,
Okay,
anything
you
you need
know
from
what
us
you're looking
anymore?
for. Thank you very much, appreciate the time.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
All right, the next item on our agenda is the superintendent report.
Oh, right, yes, thank you. Before we move on, can we stay on this agenda item?
Sure.
Sorry. It was brought to my attention from the planning department that in the same general scope, the high school, which is connected to sewer, is located in a sewer avoidance area.
Wow.
So. in
Shut
order
it
to
down.
In order to keep
That'd be good.
current,
So you're about 5 million.
we'd like to
Like the
update, fix this and
Okay.
keep things current and
Oh my gosh, that's so
update it.
funny.
So,
Wow.
the theory is that a lot of the town-owned properties and buildings were placed in a sewer avoidance area just for open space purposes.
Mhm.
And then as things developed, schools were built and connected, so,
right.
we're bringing that up. And that's the second,
Do you want public hearing for that?
You can't see that out of the window just now, anyway.
that's your second, map here
Mhm. Oh, okay.
That was the one I
page.
handed out.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Okay, now we can have the superintendent report.
Motion motion for that?
Do you wanna have a discussion following
No, but we
to
need to-
change that?
we
Yeah,
need-
put it on the next meeting
Yeah,
agenda.
let's put it on the next meeting so we have a map to look at.
Okay.
Or, I guess this map is probably good enough. I don't know.
Yeah, there's this, it's on both sheets, this is just
I don't know,
shows the
what's
high
your
school.
sense? We wanna add this to our agenda and vote on it tonight for the school?
We should probably,
I'm getting a consensus that we add it to the agenda tonight, and, I would entertain a motion to,
what are you talking, specifically, what exhibit are you talking about?
adding the high school property,
Which exhibit, which one is it? Hand it out to me.
C2,
C2.
E2? Okay, so
C2.
Okay, good.
C2.
It's the second, C2, okay. Second map, it has 161 Nevers Road underneath the sewer service area revision. It's up on this board here. Okay. No, I got sewer map, not 161 Nevers. So the white area is the high school's property.
I can give you an extra one.
Good.
Oh, right there.
That's the sewer map. Okay.
So I would entertain a motion to, add the property indicated on this map related to the high school to a sewer, make it a sewer service area.
Say it again, be clear.
To
I can't understand it.
change the, high school property, an area as shown on the map, that
Does it-
came with our package, to a sewer service area.
It's designated 161, is that the same one we're looking at?
Looks like 161, it
161.
looks like 91,
Okay,
92 maybe, I don't know.
right, good.
I move to add a agenda item C2 to the agenda.
Second.
Aye.
Okay, and now a motion to actually make the change?
It's pretty much a done deal. It's kind of already done, so,
Rip the sewers out, rip them
yeah,
out.
absolutely.
Rip the
Okay.
sewers
No,
out.
don't rip the sewers up.
Now, let's see, we are missing Mr. Lyon tonight, so I'll seat Vicky Poliulis for him.
Mhm. So I move to approve it.
Second.
Any further
It should
discussion?
have taken 2 seconds, people know, sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously.
Because the high school can now use the sewer.
We can now flush the toilets again.
Use the high school out there now.
You
Okay,
love
good.
so much, really.
Tony's gonna go to the high school now and take
Hey,
those
Steve,
yellow,
hopefully
those
there'll
yellow
be no
tapes off of
lawyers
every
at our next
commode.
meeting.
The crime scene tape.
It's a
Okay,
good thing
now we
because
can,
they'll be all shut down tomorrow.
I've tried now 3 times to get the,
The state, until the state approves it.
and now I can't find my copy. Okay. Go ahead.
D1.
Okay. So we have an odor control update. The 3 new carbon odor control units were installed and placed online in the sludge storage tanks. They're 3 carbon units that are very similar to the ones on the gravity thickeners. So far, we've had really good results with them. Residential sewer billing has gone out. This year's billing list consists of 8,717 accounts totaling $4,009,820. We have there's a revision here from the report. There's actually 195 income eligible accounts and qualifying discounts totaled $22,770. So I did want to point that out. And the payments are due on October 31st of this year. Moving on to the treatment plant. Our process flows average 2.6 3 million gallons per day for August. BLD TSS was 99%, and our nitrogen was 92 pounds or 4.1 milligrams per liter. For the maintenance side, cleaned and inspected clarifier 2, built storage racks for pump hoses that we've accumulated over the years. So we've neatened that area up, installed new belt on the gravity belt thickener, did perform maintenance on the UV system, completed annual electrical training with our staff, and repaired the waste activated sludge valves. The collection systems, we inspected 9,400 feet, cleaned 3,100 feet. Also worked on the Clark Street bypass check valve installation, cleaned the Clark Street check valves as well, and inspected the Benedict Drive grinder and force main air vents. For our call-outs, we had 0 at the treatment plant. We had 2 pump station alarms for August, 0 blockages, 0 call before you digs, and 0 odor complaints. For the capital improvements, the pump station upgrades, we have permit applications have been filed with the Planning and Zoning and Wetland Commissions. The aeration wear gates, materials have been delivered to the contractor who is going to be mobilizing soon. We've had to push the project back a little bit just because of the high flows that we've been receiving lately. So that project's been delayed 2 weeks as of now. We're just going to keep an eye on weather, and it's very flow dependent because we also have to maintain our process. Our odor control improvements, we do have to, because the minutes, or because the resolution last month wasn't read into the minutes, that's actually an unfinished business for tonight's meeting. So the resolution that was approved last month has to be read in, and then we can approve it this month, and then the town clerk can sign it, and then we can file that with the state. But right now, the Office of Policy and Management needs to change the awarded entity from the town of South Windsor to the WPCA. OPM is meeting in October, and the request is on the agenda for approval. I'll keep you updated as I hear more about that. Also, DEEP is going to draft a contract, but it cannot execute until the awarded entity is revised and that they receive the resolution as well. There are 3, let's see, we also had an RFP that was out as well. We had 3 consultants respond to it, and we selected Weston and Sampson based on their proposal and the approach to the project. So we're going to be setting up a meeting with them soon to discuss moving forward with the project and the design of the west side for odor control improvements. The sanitary sewer evaluation survey, this is a new project. We've completed the quality-based selection process, and this will help us get grant funding in the future from DEEP and the Clean Water Fund. Wright Pierce was selected as most qualified. We're in the midst of negotiations now for the scope and fees. And onto the ARPA projects. Phase 4, as we're all aware, has been completed. We're just holding retainage till November. The UV disinfection project, we're preparing to bid that very shortly. We've had a couple delays in that project, just looking into different sources of grant funding, but we're getting close to the bidding process. And Clark Street bypass valve, that has been completed as well, and we're holding retainage until December for that project. Collector of revenue, provided a report.
Do you want me to pass it?
Tony, can I ask a quick question on
Sure.
this report? So for the sanitary sewer evaluation survey, you said that Wright Pierce was selected as most qualified. Under what was the triple bid package that went out, that they had the best price?
It didn't include pricing because we do quality-based selection, and it's a process where it's an open proposal process, so we put that out to everybody. We receive the proposals, we review them, we score them with a sheet. We select typically the top three, it doesn't have to be the top three, but in this case, it was the top three. We perform interviews, there's another scoring process, and everything is based on qualifications and nothing with
So you
price.
did that, you do that for each one of your projects?
Not for each one, in order to qualify for clean water funding, that's the process you have to go through. So we're trying to get a 55% grant for that project.
We do a lot of business right here, so hopefully they give us the friends and family discount.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, actually.
As we
Yeah,
do.
we're in,
And Fuss and O'Neill.
Yeah, cause there's bidding that should be done for best price on projects. And I just keep seeing the same names over and over again.
For years.
yeah, we typically get the same consultants with proposals and bids. And we do have 6 on-call consultants for engineering services that we use for different projects. If we're not going for clean water funding, we'll pull from our on-calls. But if we're going for loans or grants, then we have to open it up to everybody. And then to do that, like I said, there's a quality-based selection process, and there's a scoring form that we have. We have a formal panel that sits and listens to the interviews, and they're scored, and then everything's based off qualifications, and we can't discuss price until we take the most qualified, whoever's deemed the most qualified. So right now, we're in the midst of negotiating price and the scope of the work. And then all that package gets sent into DEEP with the application for the funding.
That's backwards negotiation.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how do you know what to negotiate when you don't have anything to compare it against? I should go back to contracting.
I'm just trying to get the 55% grant.
Yeah, I got you. Thank you for answering that.
You're welcome.
Okay, you were gonna go on and talk
The
about
collector of revenue report, I got this morning, or maybe it was yesterday, apologize. So the residential sewer use billing has been sent out with the due date of October 31st. The commercial sewer accounts will be issued the alias tax warrants. And to date, we have a commercial collection rate of 85.9%. There's 8 accounts that are outstanding. One in particular is quite large, so that's why their number is down a little bit this year for the collections. She is currently working on that to get everybody current. And the residential is 97.94% from
That's down a bit too, isn't it?
last year. Yeah, it's down from
Some
98.6.
Yeah.
So next month I'll have the 24 grand list number for you for the residential side. So that concludes the report.
Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I got one question. Have the Main Street people, odor, have any complaints? I know you've, I don't know.
We haven't had any complaints in August, and I don't think we've received
That's
any
good.
this month.
That's a good thing.
Yep.
When were the commercial sewer bills due?
Commercial goes out in March.
Okay, so it's
Yeah, we're offset
been a
6
while
months.
ago.
Yeah, yep. It's the
So
two
that-
different billing cycles.
So that large number is because of one particular.
One in particular,
Wow.
yeah.
You think you're gonna see the revenue?
I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, she's actively pursuing it.
Okay,
The collector's office is actively pursuing.
They're not in bankruptcy, are they?
okay.
Are they in bankruptcy?
I'm not sure the status. I'm not, yeah.
So with regard to the odor control project, which is going to the next phase, how far do we keep doing and spending money when, is there such thing as it's good enough now, there's no complaints? I mean, obviously, we want to complete something that's entertaining, at the same time, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, so we've addressed the highest sources of H2S. Now we're going for like that middle zone where there's odor, where we can make improvements to the odor control system. So I'm kind of looking at it as like 3 zones. So you have your high production, your medium production, and then your lower production. And we did receive the money, or we're receiving the money from the state, so we can take care of the design, or actually, we're gonna take care of the design, but we can actually construct improvements to the headworks building, the control building, sludge processing, and wet well areas.
Okay, thank you.
And
Nice job.
hopefully, somewhere along the way, we'll get rid of the biofilter.
Correct. So, yeah, it'll help us move away from that.
All right, okay, any other questions or comments on the report? Item G1, Urban Act, CT Urban Act Grant Award Resolution and Incumbency Statement for Odor Control Improvements. So we actually voted on this at the last meeting. However, for some reason, actually have to read it out loud into the record. So, Megan, would you like to read that for us?
Whereas the South Windsor Water Pollution Control Authority at its regular meeting on October 3rd, 2023, must enter with and deliver to the State of Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection any and all documents which it deems to be necessary or appropriate for a grant of $1,300,000 for odor control improvements at the wastewater treatment plant located at 1 Vibert Road, South Windsor, Connecticut. And whereas the town manager of South Windsor, Michael Maniscalco, thank you, is authorized and directed to execute and deliver any and all documents on behalf of the town of South Windsor Water Pollution Control Authority, and to do and perform all acts and things which he deems to be necessary or appropriate to carry to the terms of such documents. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town of South Windsor Water Pollution Control Authority hereby supports this application to the State of Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection to be used for odor control improvements at the wastewater treatment plant located at 1 Vibert Road, South Windsor, Connecticut. Now, therefore, be it further resolved that the town of South Windsor Water Pollution Control Authority hereby grants authority for the town manager, Michael Maniscalco, to execute and deliver any and all documents on behalf of the town of South Windsor Water Pollution Control Authority.
So moved.
We have a motion. Second, anyone?
Second.
David Basile seconds it. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, now we have, unfinished business with 139 Lawrence Road Sewer Assessment, and I see, only had an attachment with that.
Yeah, it looks like this.
And there's a handwritten document on the back.
Correct, yeah, so we did some follow-up with the courts that Mr. Sandberg had given us the information for. And unfortunately, we didn't make a lot of headway there. They did acknowledge that the case existed, and basically, there were motions made and filed, and then they were withdrawn. So we really didn't gain too much more information than what he had presented last month. So that's kind of where we're at. We were unable to attain any agreements with any of the parties involved. We haven't found any in our office or on the town's files. So still haven't really made progress.
So, in trying the case, they're gonna try the case now, you get a docket number.
No.
So they did, so the fact is there was a docket number, there was a case.
Is that what we got last time?
This is not going back to court. This is all historical
Okay.
information.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I believe that docket number is between him and JMJ,
Yeah.
the contractor.
Cost them some money.
And the fact that it's showing a withdrawal of action, does that mean that no decision was ever made by the court? Like, was there
What
all this
happened
activity
was-
going on back and forth, and then it was eventually,
The appeal was late,
right,
so the court rejected it because the appeal was late.
okay.
Well, that's separate from
Yeah,
Oh,
what this was.
oh, all right.
This was between Mr. Sandberg and JMJ, the contractor.
Mhm.
We were following up because he wasn't having a lot of success getting any of the files. And then the appeal was after the fact, and that was between Mr. Sandberg and the town.
right.
Is that the way they couldn't print the case?
Yeah, yeah.
In 2023, they couldn't print the case.
No, so when I reached out to them, essentially what they said was because it was withdrawn at the time, anytime that it was withdrawn back then when they had those paper documents, they had to destroy it after a year. So there's no actual record that the case even happened because it was withdrawn by one of the two parties.
Okay.
So it was pulled out,
Hmm.
and no decision was ever made.
So it was withdrawn by either JMJ or the
Mr.
homeowner,
Sandberg, yeah,
which means they came to an agreement.
so I think, yeah, or someone
Handshake.
gave up.
So it isn't clear whether this is even relevant to
Right.
the issue for us.
Yeah.
Well, so he's a long-term resident. I think he's been pretty credible, the efforts he's made into us. I tend to believe him. In which case, in many instances, some form of statute of limitations has happened. I would say we
Well,
just,
it's been assessed, he hasn't paid it, the statute's still open.
Let's just have one person speaking. Toby?
okay. Good point, James, thanks. Well, I wanted to just have it go away, just forgive the assessment, or some percentage thereof. And just-
So they blew a filing statute, that's,
Okay, James, I'll recognize you.
no, I just can't believe they blew a filing, a timely filing. No,
Right.
I mean, the law, I know one set of lawyers,
No, that was
Coleman's a big-time law firm, and I know the other guy's a trial guy, a real trial guy.
his appeal was filed late, the 21 days after after the decision, and the court would not accept the appeal. That's separate from this here.
Yeah, there's two separate cases here. So you have Mr. Sandberg versus JMJ,
Yeah,
and then Mr. Sandberg versus the town.
okay.
Um,
The town wasn't filed timely.
So he had 21, so when the sewers were put in, there was public hearing and there was notices sent to the properties. It was posted in the papers, all the protocols were followed. There was a 21-day appeal process, and
Between Sandberg and the town of South Windsor.
yeah, anybody had a chance to appeal within
Right,
21
21
days
days,
of the
okay.
notice.
Yeah.
He failed to do that.
Okay,
He still felt that he had a case. He took that to court,
and they threw it out.
and they didn't, right, and it was dismissed because it wasn't within
Didn't say
the
that.
21 days.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So the
Paula?
80-20 rule won't apply for this because the town.
No, this was back, before that had changed, yeah. This is under the old benefit assessments.
So, Joe?
Tony, so it's our discretion, I heard Toby said he wanted to forgive, if we say, even though there's no documentation, we say, well, we forgive 50%, because it's kinda up in the air, right? Didn't he get a check back from the town?
Stuff from J&J, he got,
Oh, that was J&J.
yeah.
Alright, so it basically comes down to us whether you believe him or not. I don't know if you wanna give him a 50% forgiveness, or you just go around the table and see what everyone wants. Want 100%, no percent.
How much money are we talking about?
8,000, I think,
Eight large?
something
Okay.
like that.
Yeah, what was the amount again, Tony?
So, let's,
Yeah,
do we know,
the cost was, it was
I can get
between 8 and 9 thousand, do you
88.
have that?
Yeah, one second. $8,963.
and that was due
Plus
when?
interest, that's a-
I actually might be able to look it up.
I think it was around 2015.
He wins.
I don't think I have it on this computer though. No, I don't have it.
But, yeah, interest has also been accruing.
Yeah,
as
that's
well.
what I'm trying to figure out where it really stands now.
Yeah, it's a shock. Since 16?
I think that's when it was due.
I kinda like what Joe was saying, not 50%, but what if we just charge them the base rate without the interest charges that have been placed on that amount?
That's a good idea.
You know, just the base rate, not including them then to current day, you know?
So that
The
appeal,
original principle, that's what you're saying.
Yes.
Wait, one person here, Vicky, continue.
Yeah, the principal,
Yeah,
You
the
were
original
saying.
principle.
do that. So we're working with him, we're not giving him the farm, but we're working with him in that respect.
That is state statute is the interest, it's 18% per year.
Usury.
So I'd have to look in to see if the authority has the authority to do that. You could adjust the principal side of things. The interest is state
Just working
statutes
backwards.
under the collectors
So we
statutes that they
could
work
just
under.
put a price tag on it. You know, instead of just what we decide which would be the principal.
The state statute is so as not to exceed that amount. It's not, you don't have to charge people. I haven't read the state statutes, but that seems illogical. But
I would have to
the
look
reason
into
government
it.
is to limit us from our own greed and to, so, but we should.
I can't believe it's missed the filing, it's,
Okay,
Jesus, 21 days.
Joe, you were.
Yeah,
about
so
to make a
the
comment.
appeal, was like a letter sent to him, or was this something that was just posted in the
He gave us
paper,
a
or-
story. He told us a reason, there was some reason, I don't remember what it was.
Illness of some sort?
Illness or COVID, or I don't know what it was.
Mhm.
Go
Everything.
back then, that's way back then.
Yeah, he had an illness, so that's why he didn't,
Yeah,
he wasn't appealing during that time period.
yeah.
But I mean,
But
review the notifications that went out both before the assessment was issued and then after, and,
Right.
I mean, the whole, go ahead.
Yeah,
just
so
review
there were, I don't have my notes with me, of course, tonight. But yeah, there was a full process to answer your question. They did undergo a public hearing at the time. There was, I believe, 3 letters sent to the affected properties within the assessment period, notifying them. Everybody was notified there was a public hearing. And then, once the assessments were calculated, those again were posted in the paper and they were sent to the property owners as well. And at that time, you have 21 days from when it's posted to appeal. And that's where he failed to appeal within that.
It's like a revaluation with the town, they revalue, you probably have so many days to appeal, that if you don't do it.
Yeah, I missed that.
So did he comment during the public hearing or at any other time? Do we know?
No, he wasn't on record with any comments.
Okay, so,
Let's ask a quick question.
all right, so, David?
What, and you may not know this, what was the principal amount before all the,
The principal is the 8,000.
oh, that is the actual,
That's the principal,
that's not all the interest tacked onto it?
right, and then each year it's 18%.
18%.
That's huge. So,
Right, so this eight, so what I'm saying, this 8,963 includes all the interest?
No,
it
that's
does.
principal.
it's a
Since
principal.
Just the
2016.
actual amount?
Yes.
Yeah.
Divide that into 70, are you kidding me?
Damn.
You've been done.
So let's see,
That's double in
We're
4
being
years, that's
recorded.
double. 18 into 72 is 4.
Rule 72,
4, 7.
let's see, let me try that again. 72 divided by 18. It quadruples it doubles every 4 years.
That's right.
And it exponentially doubles.
Yeah.
So
Since
after 4 years,
2016.
it's double, after 8 years, it's 4 times.
It's interest and interest.
Yeah. So that's you're not familiar with interest, that's the back of the envelope.
Steve, or I should ask, Tony, we have the power to mitigate any bill, right, since we're the main
With the authority, yeah.
So, if someone made a motion, we take
She
20% off. Well, then you said, that if she said 20% off the bill, then we don't have to deal with the interest, what would that be? I mean, that's almost like one of those, and a low income person gets buys a house and doesn't know it's one of these, the interest ends up at 200%, and that's crazy.
Has the town
On
assessed
the other
against
hand,
his
he's had
property?
the opportunity to pay the bill, so not paying was, you know,
Yeah, but he did have illness, and we can't be heartless, so it's up to what everyone else
Has
decides.
the town assessed it already against his property, put a lien on his property? They have. And so it's
Yeah,
accruing.
it's not-
It's accruing, right?
Right, yeah, he has, I don't believe he's made any payments on the benefit assessment, so
But it's
that's
been assessed and there's been a lien put on his property, correct?
correct.
So he can't clear title without paying, so believe me, where's last vote? There, let's say pay.
so I mean, to me, there are two ways to look at this. One is administratively adequately notified, adequately, you know, missed the deadline for appeal. We have a court decision, town washed its hands of it that many years ago. The other side is, you know, what do we feel is the right thing to do here, and do we wanna do the right thing? I mean, I tend to believe the story that the sewer was put in a deal with the builder where he exchanged some benefit, which was the use of his land, for, some stormwater treatment, so,
Steve, they do that all the time, I've done it.
yeah.
State wouldn't do something with me, guess what, I dealt with the guy building the road.
Yeah.
What do you think, I got what I wanted, you know?
So, I mean, he got the sewer in exchange for something of value. The fact that there's no assessment is due to the fact that builders don't pay assessments when they build the sewer themselves. So, on all those houses, there's no assessment. The only question is whether we consider him tied into that, so,
I think what she said.
I mean, we could either say, sorry, we're not interested, or we could do what Toby is suggesting. You know, I hear some percentages, I don't know how much I know.
When she said the
Let
principal.
me just ask Mr. Sandberg if he has anything else to add, okay? Is he here? Oh, that's not him, okay.
So like, can we get the actual number with interest, everything, what's the total number?
Yeah, I'd have to get that from the collector of revenue.
Yeah, I'd rather get this dealt with one last time and, you know, get it over with.
Yeah, I don't even wanna look at the interest at this point, I don't.
It's huge.
It's fair,
It's
yeah, I don't
huge.
think that's
Are you
fair.
kidding me?
What was it do again?
I don't think that's fair.
That's like a Ponzi scheme, brother, you
Yeah.
know, that ain't
Thought
right.
it was around twenty
That's
sixteen.
not right, no.
Okay, so
I-
2016,
That's just like.
I don't care.
it's
It's Saddam
almost
Hussein.
quadrupled at this
No,
point.
that ain't right.
Right, so,
What brought this to be? Like, did he just sit on it for the last
Yep.
8 years?
Yep.
And ignored it?
Yep.
Instead of coming here 8 years ago
well, he came with his appeal and then, yeah,
and then walked
I mean, I think he went through the court system and then,
away?
I'm not sure what happened.
So
It's
they
a
don't,
tough
they
one.
don't.
now I think the Water Pollution Control Authority at that time also could have done something else, on their own, but they chose to say, okay, that's the court decision, live with it. So the question is, does this authority, this group of people feel differently and wanna deal with this differently than the WPCA in 2016?
I think though, Steve, the accountability is far better now than it was back then, as far as people paying their fees, their bills, their assessments, the accountability. It's probably so much better now
We've
than it
improved
was
a lot.
back in 2016.
Seems like we have a lot more.
When
Yes.
Tony first got here, there were people coming here who hadn't received a tax bill for
Right.
10 years.
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
I think that's got a lot to do with it. So he was just writing on the accountability thing, hey, people talk.
Mhm.
He was just letting it sit.
So I don't know, Toby had a concept, maybe if you wanna make a motion.
Well, my initial concept was to believe him at what he said and the evidence he tried to produce and have him say, we're good, no assessment whatsoever. However, I'm just dividing it now, I mean, it wouldn't be unreasonable to say, pay us $4,600 and go away happy.
With interest.
No.
No,
No
no
interest.
interest.
$4,600.
I have
Flat
another
rate.
motion.
Flat fee.
No interest.
I have another motion.
Okay,
My motion is to pay the principal, which was the 8,967, I believe. And if we can't do that because of the rules or whatever, like what Joe was saying, let's figure out the math and just deduct. So it is 8,967. So okay, then we're giving you 70% off because all that was that interest, and we are getting the principal. So that kind
I
of.
thought the 8,900 is what he owes
so is that your
now.
motion?
No, that's the,
No, no.
that's
That's assessed originally.
that's the,
Yeah, that's the principal.
principal.
So can you restate your motion?
25
Well,
grand. It's gonna be 25.
please, we're having a
So my
meeting.
motion is to pay the principal,
Mhm.
which is 8,967, I believe,
8,963.
63. In any way possible, if we are not allotted to do that because of the regulations in regards to interest, principal and all that, then we deduct all that principal, so we still end up with 8,967.
Right.
Okay, so,
I'm sorry, 63.
I think your motion is to, reduce the, payment required to a number, 8,009,
963.
in such a way that the, principal, the revised principal plus interest equals
8,963.
$8,963. Do we have a second?
Well, we put it this way, we just debate the interest.
Well,
I'm
that's
not
a
sure
lot
we
of,
can.
that's a lot of money to pay. If he's right, if he did what he did, and he said, sure, that's a lot. You
Hey,
want me to pay
wait,
nine- you want me to
there's a
pay
motion
nine-
on the table, I haven't had a
Seconded.
second.
There's no motion on
I
the
haven't
table.
had a second.
We do a little discussion, how you're wording
We're
it.
not having a discussion until we have a second.
Oh.
Do we have a second? Nobody's seconding, the motion dies.
Let's make it, okay, I'll make a motion. Now, we abate the interest, we go back to what she said, but abate the interest. So the principal stays the same, 8,763 was it or something?
963.
963, boom, that's it.
I mean, the
Abate
bill,
the interest,
the bill could be what?
Wait, wait,
25,
wait.
30 grand.
We have a motion. Is
Well,
there a
let's-
second?
No, we're doing a discussion.
Wait a minute. I asked for a motion. We've had a lot of discussion. We can discuss it after the motion is made and seconded.
I'll give do we have one motion yet?
No, you didn't make a
Oh.
motion.
I'll make a motion so we can forward this, so we can discuss. I make a motion to
To,
accept what Jim said.
You gotta have percentage
I'll
though,
make
you
a,
know.
I'll
Wait,
make a
wait, wait.
motion, I'll
Wait,
make a
wait.
No
motion.
one wants a motion.
David
to be-
Basile has made a motion. No, we don't need a second motion. Your motion is,
Sorry, I can't be more, what's the word I'm looking for? Eloquent.
Mhm.
But I'm backing up what James Murray just brought to the
okay,
floor.
so let me try to restate your motion as I
Sure,
hear
please
it,
restate it.
which is to waive the interest and still require the principal to be paid,
Abate the interest.
abate the interest.
Oh,
I used to work for an agency, work with it, stuff like that.
All right.
You would wanna deal with it.
So now, is there a second for that motion?
I'll second it, sure.
Okay, so now we have a second. Now we can discuss the motion. Let's go around the table, starting with Vicky. Start with you.
I agree with it completely.
Okay,
I think we have to give him a discount, so I think principal plus interest, if it is like 50% of the money, then we comply with the whatever interest requirement as well as give a benefit to the house owner, right?
so you're not happy with the motion because,
It's coming back to 100%.
Mhm.
But principal plus interest, if it is that kind of 50% or 75%, whatever it is.
all right, but we have a specific motion, so you have a, it's your idea, so.
Follow the old rule of KISS, okay? Abate the interest. As simple as that, because it must be 25, 30 grand. It's 18% since what, 2016? Well, 18 to 72 goes 4 times. That's doubled in 4 years.
Right.
That's 2020, now we're 2023. What do you think? About 25 grand he owes? And it leans against his property. If he can't sell it, he's screwed, you know.
I agree with you.
He's been banged up. I don't want to say it on tape. He's been banged up. he should have known better, but he didn't. But again, I don't know who was advising him, but when he went to court and we paid the interest, we got the money, we're happy. Otherwise, he could never pay it, and then we'd be collecting it from his estate.
Toby?
So, very compassionate conversations. I hear trying to give the guy a break. But if you're trying to give me a break in saying, so you only have to pay the original, which by the way, I never owed to begin with because I had this thing worked out. So thanks very much, but I don't have the $9,000. I don't have the $25,000. Good luck at collecting that. And I went to my town for some help, and I explained to you guys the whole situation. You know, it's a lot of circumstances in there. So I kind of, if you consider a friendly amendment as to what this gentleman was saying is, let us cut it in half and say pay us $4,600 and we're done. We believe you. However, you got to pay something.
So that's a different motion.
That's why it's a friendly amendment.
Okay, that's the second amendment. He wants to cut it in half.
So do you accept the friendly amendment, David?
It's an amendment. They're both friendly, but.
I second it.
And does the second accept it?
I do not.
Not?
I do not.
Okay, so the motion stays the way it is. We can vote it down and have another motion, but, okay. Let's see, who's next?
Joe?
I like your idea, but I agree with Toby. I think we should be a little compassionate. I think there could have been some fault on the clerk's side too. I mean, like he mentioned, there were a lot of people that didn't get letters for like 10 years or something like that, so. But this is democracy, so I'm sort of with Toby on giving him a better break, so I'm gonna pass on the original motion.
Okay. Anything more you want to add, Dave?
No, I mean, it's just a tough situation all around, obviously, you know, this is really tough to try to figure out, you know, the best solution, but again, if we just go out just for the principal amount, we're not tacking on all that interest. It's still in the sense is a win-win, you know?
I feel like if we bill the full amount, he's gonna do what he did 8 years ago and not pay it. Where if we give him 4,600, he has documentation, everything he said appears to be truthful. Kind of split the difference, kind of, I would support something more along the lines of Toby's 4,600. We split it 50-50 and we.
But he can't ignore it. It's been assessed against his property.
Right.
That's a lien on his property. When he stops breathing, they go
Jim,
to sell his property.
Joe,
Guess who's gonna be there?
Joe has a table, okay, please.
But yeah, no, I would would rather support like half off, 50%. We say here, we reduced it to 4,600 and that's it.
I guess I would be concerned of giving him the break and then having him not pay it, so I would want to have a deadline in there.
Yeah,
Agreed.
yeah, have some type of a due date.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
let's say that a payment is tendered by the end of calendar year 2023 would be a friendly amendment.
That would be fair.
Okay.
I'm still.
Well, you
set on the-
seconded the motion. Do you agree with that change?
I guess my problem is, we're giving a lot of leverage here. Like, I understand he fought this, and so there's level of truth, the whole thing. If you give leverage here, heck, I'll step forward on my stuff, you know, whatever. So I don't know. I think we gotta be kind of careful, you know. I hear compassion. I get it. And I hear we might not be paid. I get that too. But the rules are still the rules, and I think cutting him the deal of $89.63, I feel is adequate because we are working with them. It could be with the 30,000 or whatever we're saying. So I'm kind of sticking with the $89.63 for my perspective of we're giving him leverage over his word. I don't know if in my world that doesn't hold much from my world. So
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay, now, do you want Mr. Basile to take a change, or should we vote on the motion the way it is?
You can have,
Okay, so I did ask you if you would accept the date, the due date, because if that motion is approved, there's no due date.
true enough.
Right, so I think that, let me clarify, the motion is still, we collect the $8,963, we're just amending to put a due date on that, correct? Is that my if that's what is
Yeah,
on
I
the
guess-
floor?
Okay,
8963
floor?
by the end of the year, I'm,
By 12/31/23, yeah.
There's a lot
or
of
pick
money in a
another
short
date, I
period
mean,
Yeah, I mean,
of time.
Oh,
So I
I
mean,
would
I
make
think
sure to
it's
get
still the
legal
full
notice.
principal
so, well,
amount.
technically,
Yeah, that's a
there's a
short
motion on the
period of
floor
time
and we
before
gotta vote on it.
over.
well,
When's the next fiscal year,
so did you accept the due date
which is,
as the second of the end of this calendar year, December
I
31st,
think
2024?
that's too short,
Okay,
to be honest with
I
you.
can, the collector of revenue sends out the assessment bills in November and May.
Mhm.
So if you wanted to do a due date, it might make sense by the end of May, when the
Okay.
rest of the bills go out.
okay,
I mean, the thing is, if everybody agree with this,
We'll find out.
I guess we'll find out.
I mean, we could like to see the due date added and then vote against the motion, that's perfectly legitimate, okay, so. All right, so a due date of May 31st,
2024.
2024. Is that acceptable to you?
That is
that
acceptable to
to you? Okay. Any other comment on the motion, which is the 89,000,
No, 8,900.
89?
1,963.
Thank you. Somebody can remember that number at least.
But isn't that what his actual appeal was, to remove that amount or reduce?
And
the
we're
amount?
basically forgiving the interest.
Right.
Now, we may find out that we can't forgive the interest, so they'll be back in another meeting, okay? So, the motion on the table is to change his assessment, or to forgive the interest and leave him with the 89,
8,963.
$8,963.
That's what he owes. That's what he owed originally.
Right. And with a due date of May 31st, 2024. Now, any other comments? Okay, we're ready for a vote. All those in favor? Those opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Let's have a,
Steve, do I get the vote, since
No.
she got seated, I'm like in limbo right now.
yeah,
this is-
you're not voting, yeah.
Right. That's why I didn't raise my hand.
Thank you. Just say what yours, yea or nay.
What's that? Yes, yeah.
Okay, Ramaswamy?
Nay.
Nay?
Yes.
Yes? Toby, no?
Yay.
Yay?
Yay.
Yay, and no. So the motion passes,
Yes, 4.
4-3. All right,
That's if it's, we have the authority to abate interest.
well, we find out we don't have the authority, we'll be back in here,
That's what I'm saying, yeah. That's,
okay? I kinda like her motion because of that, okay.
that's what I'm saying.
All right, I guess we're ready now to go into executive session. Who do we need to have with us?
Yeah.
Do we ever do the public input? Is that?
Oh, we never did public input, I'm sorry.
Is that what you're here for?
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
I'm sorry.
totally sorry. Please.
No, I just wanted to introduce myself. You guys are about to go into executive session over my property. Twice in the past 25 months. My name's Matt Waddell, 115 Pine Tree Lane, Southminster, Connecticut. Been a member of the town for 7 years, currently serving, work over in Windsor Locks. 25 months ago, I was deployed. You guys all had an executive session over my property when Hurricane Henry hit. Benedict pump station flooded my basement with sewage. I know Mr. Manfree and everyone tried to get and recoup. I ended up with $31,000 in damages. I got a $10,000 insurance loan and a $5,000 military grant for being in a combat zone. 8 days ago,
Apply it again.
if it wasn't for the phone calls I think we made to the town, because the pump station turned off, no alarms went off, but we have these little sensors in our basement which detected water. And then called, I think Tom Delnicki called Mr. Manfrey, I called the police department and fire department. Obviously, people were on site within an hour. I don't wanna say much more, I just wanted to say hi to everyone. I know I was at the meeting last night, the mayor said she would feel bad tearing up people's front lawns. Well, how would the mayor feel, or even you said earlier, a couch floating down, flooding down the, still costs money. I just had, I'm still tallying it up, but currently I'm at $14,000 in damages for this time. Of lost property, just refinished the basement, now I have to go through it all over again. So, that's all I have, I just wanted to say hi, say my piece.
Thank you.
I know the pump,
What was your name again?
Matt Odell.
Matt Odell.
I know the pump station from the pamphlet that has been going around since 2019, pump station has reached its life expectancy. Pamphlet keeps going out, we're almost in 2024. I work in government, I do logistics, I do contracting for the government. I deal with all vendors. I've never seen something take 5 years, maybe it's just me, but 5 years, and it's, from what I'm being told, it's still gonna be another year or two before the pump station gets fixed. So I don't know what this committee can do, but I pray that something can happen to this pump station to make it better. I thank him, the night on Monday, I was up, I didn't sleep for 2 days. I saw his guys at the pump station till 3 in the morning. I was out on the front porch watching. Every time I see the light go on, the Ring doorbell, I go outside and I watch.
I'm sorry for that.
No, it's, I don't sleep now, so it's just one of those things. I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, so all their toys got thrown away. Now I have to go find all these Octonauts, Gups, Paw Patrols, everything that had raw sewage all over it. Get a bag and tag and throw away. So that's all I have. I don't know what the executive session entails, but
Okay, thank you for updating us on that, I did appreciate that.
just wanted to.
We will, we do have some matters that we need to discuss
Nope,
in
that's
executive session.
what
on
I
that,
was
but-
waiting for the public input, but
Yeah, I'm sorry,
Nope.
somebody should beat me up when I skip an agenda item.
so. You guys have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
So we need a motion to go into executive session, and Joe, you can attend as well. Alternates.
Am I allowed in an
Alternates
executive
can
session?
attend, yes.
Motion to go into executive session?
And who's gonna be there?
I
All
don't
the
think I
members?
am.
Mr. King,
Steve, am I legally, since I'm not really officially part of the meeting, I don't think I'm allowed.
oh, you are allowed, I'm inviting you.
Oh, you're inviting me, okay.
Remember that you may have to vote on an action in a subsequent meeting, so that's why you're allowed in an
Okay,
executive
all right,
session.
okay, very good.
We have Jeff Lemay and Tony Manfrey, and our secretary would have to step up.
Good.
Tony, do you guys want me to stay?
Yes.
And we can, when we come out, do you want to adjourn?
Yeah, we're gonna
Can-
go straight to adjourning, so can you know how to turn off the recorder?
Yeah, she can
She's
turn it
gonna
off.
turn off right now, and then we're gonna adjourn. Everybody
Yeah,
agree?
she's gotta turn it off right now, otherwise everyone will know the executive session.
Pull the plug, pull the plug.
We'll be on 11 o'clock news.
Sure,
Oh, you pull the plug, everything goes
Yeah.
off, I don't care what it is.
Well, I'm sure Mike has the cameras. We're already on the, we're gonna be on the 9 o'clock.
Oh, good. Oh, no, I mean, that's not good.
All right, so we have a motion to go into executive session. Do we have a second? Seconded by Mr. Murray. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? It passes unanimously. Welcome to executive session.